So this is section 4.2, and we're going to be going over mid-segment names and lengths with a coordinate proof. So we're going to be identifying and naming mid-segments in a triangle. We are also going to be calculating the length of these mid-segments, and we're going to see how that works with our information. So for this one, the mid-segment of a triangle is a segment that connects all the midpoints of a triangle. So every triangle is going to have 3 mid-segments. And if you look at this picture below, point M is a midpoint because it's in the middle of segment AB. Then point P is a midpoint because it's in the middle of segment BC. And point N is a midpoint because it is in the middle of segment AC. Then you'll notice that all 3 of those midpoints are connected by a triangle. And that is what it would look like when you have all 3 mid-segments in a triangle. The information that we're going to need to know from this is when you have the mid-segment, if you just have one drawn, it's easier to look at. This mid-segment is going to be parallel to the third side of the triangle. So you're going to see that they have these 2 segments marked as parallel. So DE is the mid-segment, and that is going to be parallel to the third side, which is AC. And if you want to label this, you can. The mid-segment, and then the third side of the triangle. The other piece of information that is going to be important is that the third side is twice as long as the mid-segment. So the formula or the equation that we're going to want to know is that 2 times the length of the mid-segment, that is always going to be equal to the length of the third side. So in this case, if we took 2 times DE, whatever that length was, that would be equal to the length of AC. Okay. We're now going to use this information to do a coordinate proof. And a coordinate proof is a little bit different than a 2-column proof, and I think you're going to like this one because it's a little bit easier. So in this example, they want us to figure out if DE is the mid-segment of ABC. So to do a coordinate proof, we are going to start by finding the 2 midpoints. And if you don't remember the midpoint formula, that's okay. We're going to rewrite it here. That's when you take your 2 x coordinate points and you add them together, and then you divide it by 2. You also do the same thing with your y coordinate points and divide by 2. And that will be giving you your midpoint. So in order for us to prove that DE is the midpoint or the mid-segment, we are going to check to see if D is the midpoint of the segment AC. So that's where we are going to start. We're going to look for the midpoint of AC. Okay. They didn't give us the coordinate point for C, so we can just add that in here, but that is going to be 0, 0. So when we start, we're going to take our x coordinate points, 4 plus 0, and divide by 2. Then we'll take our y coordinate points, 6 plus 0, and divide by 2. And if we simplify that, we're going to end up with 2, 3 for our midpoint. So we're going to go on to our picture. We're going to find point 2, 3, and if this is a midsegment, it should end up being where that point was, and this is point D. So we're going to label it point D. So on ours, we would put therefore, and these 3 dots stand for therefore. We can say D is the midpoint of AC. That is one part of the proof. Our second part, we need to make sure that E is the midpoint of CB. So that is our second part. And we're going to take those coordinate points, we're going to add our x's together, so 6 plus 0, divide by 2, add our y's together, 0 plus 0, divide by 2. And when we solve, we would end up getting 3, 0. And if we go on our coordinate grid and find 3, 0, that is point E. So we're just going to state really quick that, therefore, E is the midpoint of BC. Once we have shown that D and E are both the midpoints of the sides of the triangle, then we can state our final statement, which is DE is then the midsegment. And that is everything. This is definitely something you are going to want to know and study. This one is worth about 3 or 4 points, I can't remember, on the test, and then it will show up on a quiz or 2. So you want to make sure you're coming back and you're looking at this. Also, this equation up here is something you're going to want to know as well. Okay, once you get that all copied down, then we're going to move on to our last example for today. And this one gives us a diagram, and they said that U, V, and W are midpoints of RS, RT, and ST. So before I'm even going to start with the next part of the information, I am going to mark all of my congruent segments. And this way, when I'm working, I know which parts are congruent to each other. So because U, V, and W are midpoints, we know all the sides of the triangle are going to be cut in half. Once we have that, we can go ahead and fill in the next piece of information. We know ST is 90, so this whole length here is 90. And VW is 57 inches. Which is this segment here, 57 inches. They want us to find the length of RS, and they want us to find the length of UV. Okay. So in this one, we do have midsegments. So remember, if we take 2 times the length of the midsegment, that is equal to the third side, or the side that it's parallel to. So if we solve for RS first, we want to find the midsegment that's parallel to that. So looking at our diagram, the only segment that's going in the same direction is WV. So these 2 highlighted yellow ones are parallel to each other. And remember, the midsegment is the one inside the triangle. Once we have that, we can plug in this information. We would take 2 times the length of the midsegment, 57, equals, and we are looking for what RS is, so I'm just going to plug in RS, and that's what we're solving for. And if we multiply 2 times 57, we're going to get 114. And our label is inches. Okay. If you want to pause and try to find UV on your own and then check your answer, you can do that. For that one, UV, we're looking for the side that's also parallel to it, and that's going to be ST in this one. So again, we're going to take 2 times the length of the midsegment. This one, we don't know what the length of the midsegment is, so we're just going to plug in the letters UV, and that's equal to the length of the parallel side, which is 90. Our goal is to get UV by itself, so we're just going to divide both sides by 2, and that will give us the length of UV of 45 inches. And that is our answer. All right, if you have any questions on this, let me know. Otherwise, you can get started on the homework for this lesson, and then don't forget, we are going to have a short quiz tomorrow.